Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular council meeting on Monday, November 25th, 2024. Members of the public can be present in the council chambers during the meeting, but also please note that the webinar will be recorded and published to the city's YouTube site. The first item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda, and that is the regular council meeting be adopted as presented. Councillor Martin and Councillor Butler, all those in favor? That was carried, thank you. The item number 2 is adoption of the minutes, and the recommendation is that the minutes of the special council meeting held November 7th, 2024, and the Governance and Operations Committee and the regular council meeting, both held on November 12th, 2024, be adopted as circulated. Councillor Benson and Councillor Cashall, all those in favor? Thank you, that was carried. Adoption of the Governance and Operations Committee recommendations from November 12th. And the recommendation is that council confirm the following council select committee appointments ending October 16th, 2026. The Trail and Regional Airport Advisory Committee, Councillor Hansen is the chair and Councillor Butler. The Abilities Awareness Advisory Committee, and that would be Councillor Martin. The Major Industry Property Taxation Committee is Mayor Jones as chair and Councillor Martin and Councillor Wilson. Trail Area Health and Environment Committee, Mayor Jones chair, Councillor Hansen is the alternate. The Silver City Days Committee, Councillor Benson is the chair and Councillor Cashall is the co-chair. The Community Safety Task Force is Councillor Martin as the chair and Councillor Benson as the alternate. And the Official Community Plan with Councillor Benson and Councillor Hansen. So the recommendation is before you. Can I have someone to make that recommendation, please? Councillor Butler and Councillor Benson, all those in favor? Thank you, that was carried. The next recommendation before you is that the following standing and select committee terms of reference be deleted and those committees considered concluded. So the Governance and Operations Committee, the Information Systems Planning Committee, the Community Initiatives Local Selection Committee, the Senior Advisory Committee, the Skateboard Park Committee, Government Relations Committee, the Riverfront Center Building Committee, the Pike Pedestrian Bridge Steering Committee, Downtown Operations and Action Planning Committee, the City Liaison Committee, the Violin Lake Committee, the Promotion Committee, Environmental Sustainability Committee, and the Communities in Bloom Committee. So cleaning lots of committees up. The recommendation is that council provide So all those in motion are in favor of the recommendation before you, of the deleting the committees above us. Yeah.
So moved.
Okay, Councillor Hansen, thank you. Councillor Butler. All those in favor? That was carried, thank you. And the recommendation before you as well is that council provide a cash grant to the Generation to Generation Society in the amount of $10,000. Councillor Butler and Councillor Cashall. All those in favor? That was carried, thank you. So it's time for a public question period. Is there anyone here for the public question period tonight? We just have a new bylaw that we adopted, so I will have to read that out before, okay? Thank you. So question period is an opportunity for the public to ask questions of council about items ideally discussed at a current meeting. These questions or comments will be appropriate and respectful. Should council feel your questions or comments are inappropriate, you will be asked to step away from the microphone. I will make myself available at the end of the meeting if you wish to discuss the matter one-on-one. If you have any questions that do not pertain to the current meeting, please speak to council or staff after the meeting to make other arrangements. So this part is new, and it's, if there's a large group in the gallery, please note that the question period is limited to one question per person until all persons in the gallery have had the opportunity to speak, and then to a maximum of 3 questions per person. So each question must be limited to 2 minutes, with a total of 50 minutes per question period. So if there's anyone here tonight for question period, you can step up to the podium, and we just need your name and address, please. Just name? Okay, all right. Sorry, Audrey, I was wrong, I just need your name.
I was gonna do your worship in the 9 yards. Please, council, muchas gracias, all of you, for all the work you do. My name is Audrey Durham. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you for putting our letter on the consent agenda. I am here to ask if council will receive the neighborhood data as information before the lease of the Riverside Shelter is renewed. So that was part of the letter that you received on the consent agenda. And so I'm wondering, the folks are collecting information, the data is entirely different than what's being reported. So we're at a loss of what to do here. Any direction would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, so you're at a loss of what to do with the data you're collecting?
I wonder if council will accept the data to be used
Yeah.
to renew the lease.
I don't see why we wouldn't accept the data. I would have to put that forward to council, but I think that would be appropriate.
Okay,
Okay, so I mean, the lease doesn't come up until next August.
9 months, yeah.
Yes, so I'm sure that we're fine receiving the data. I can get someone to make that motion, but it just makes sense. It comes, yeah.
Okay, and our letter requested that we hire an independent person. I don't know if you're gonna answer questions on that letter, or I don't know if it's just going to be filed.
Yeah.
Could you explain to me how that process works?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because you know, it's coming in under the consent agenda, right?
Mhm.
So you've asked us to receive it for information,
Yes.
which we will do.
Mhm.
Absolutely, we will receive it for information. But at this time, that's exactly what we do. We will receive it.
So I've also asked for a letter of support, so is that, would that be another letter then? Or I'm not sure how it works.
So what we will do, once we receive the information that you sent us, that's all part of it. So council can have a look at that. Once we received it under the consent agenda, we'll have a look at that and then get back to you about the letter.
Okay, so you haven't looked at the letter yet?
No.
Okay.
At the letter of support? No,
The information that we sent
no,
over
we're
a month
receiving it
ago.
tonight under the
Okay.
consent agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Like, you're welcome. And do you need some help with our email addresses? Because I had to re-forward some of your information to council, so.
I need help with a lot of things, yeah.
I'm just offering to help you with that. It just makes it easier for everybody.
Yeah, I know, Terry Martin's bounced back 17 times, so I don't know.
17.
Well, no, I mean, 4.
Audrey, you didn't send it to me.
I didn't send it. Divine intervention, maybe you were blessed.
I got
don't
it.
know. I'm sorry, yeah, okay, sure.
Are you sending me emails? Because I'm not getting any emails from you, but if you sent mayor and council at trail.ca, it goes to everybody,
Well,
including.
that's what I thought.
That's the one to send it to, mayorandcouncil@trail.ca.
Yeah,
That's the magical email.
I know, maybe I blew it, and maybe I didn't do it, I don't know.
Okay.
So, yeah, I will, shore myself up on the emails, promise.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, thank you. Was there anyone else that had any questions tonight?
Margaret Sherwood, Riverside Avenue. I think we're all concerned, when we heard from Constable Lucinowicz that there had only been 10 emergency vehicles that went to the shelter since it opened. And we have at least 20 pictures of emergency vehicles being there since it opened. So I'm just concerned, who is tracking the data, because it's definitely not
We're
accurate.
5 for 5, like 5 days in a row, we've been either woken up or had police and ambulance and
Fire trucks.
Okay, so, sorry, Diana, I can just have one question at a time, okay? You know what, we're just going by the reports that Sergeant Lucinowicz gives us as well, and the fire department. We actually discussed that in the Community Safety Task Force today, the number of events that were happening down at the shelter, and events that were happening around town. And it's funny because there was a fire at the library that wasn't reported to the fire department. And so they can't record that unless it's reported. So that's the importance of reporting every incident.
Yeah, these are actual, the ambulance and fire trucks or police cars being at the shelter. We have photos of them,
timestamp.
time-stamped photos of when they were there, so it's definitely not 10 times.
Okay, well, I can only suggest that maybe we reach out to Sergeant Lucinowicz and have him in for a meeting and find out how they're reporting their data. I can only take it for what he is saying and telling us about the incidents and the what's happening down there. I know that one of them wasn't to the shelter recently, it was to someone under the bridge that
Yeah,
was-
under the bridge,
having
that, I
trouble
wasn't
and-
counting that one actually, so, yeah,
Yeah.
we saw that one as well, but that
Yeah.
one wasn't counted in their count.
Okay, I honestly, I don't mind reaching out to Sergeant Lucinowicz and asking him and getting back to you.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
pretty
very
sure I have
interested in
your
what
email
data
address.
he's collecting, because it's not the number of vehicles there, that's for sure.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cashel.
Yeah, Mayor Jones, thank you. There's at least 3 agencies then that they're referring to, it's the police.
Yeah.
The fire department and BC ambulance, so all 3 would have to provide
Yeah.
separate information on how they would be attending, and that information, I would think, should be available as part of the data that these folks are asking for. Thank you,
I
Your
agree,
Worship.
absolutely. Councillor Benson.
May I ask, Margaret a question? Is the data that you have, is it like what type of responder was there as well?
It's photos,
Oh, it's photo, okay,
it's photos
Okay.
of them being there, ambulance, fire truck, police cars, whichever.
okay.
Yeah.
And would you be able to send that to Mayor Jones so that she has that with her?
Yeah, we can send it.
Yeah.
If anything is gonna be done with them, then yes.
Councillor Martin, did I see your hand up?
No, I think Council Benson asked that question just to confirm, these are the 3 agencies at the same time, but multiple times down there, correct?
Yes. Sometimes it's just the fire truck, sometimes fire trucks, ambulance, sometimes fire trucks, ambulance, police cars.
Thank you.
Yeah, sometimes it's all 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Hanson, did I see your hand up? No? Okay. Okay. So Sandy, can you do that, please just get a meeting with Councillor Sergeant Lucinowicz and we'll have that discussion, thank you. Is there any other questions from the public question here? No? Okay. Under communications, we have a proclamation request. And the proclamation is the World Antimicrobial Resistant Awareness Week. And the recommendation is that council proclaim November 18th to the 24th, 2024 as World Antimicrobial Resistance Awareness Week in the city of Trout. Councilor Butler. Is there a seconder, please? Councilor Hanson? Councilor Benson?
This was last week is a problem.
Yeah.
We're week late for antimicrobial.
I know, I think it's just that we're acknowledging it.
Oh, okay.
Because we did ask for the lights to be lit up.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so all those in favor? Thank you, that was carried. On to our council committee reports. Councilor Benson.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report, okay. Councilor Butler? Well, Councilor Butler, if I may, I was going to ask you to talk about the Santa Claus parade that you're organizing, would you mind?
Sure.
Okay.
Just as a placeholder for everyone, in partnership with the DTIC, the Downtown Trail Improvement Committee, the Santa Claus Parade will be returning to Downtown Trail on Friday, December 13th. There'll be free parking starting at 3 o'clock. As Santa and Mrs. Claus will be in attendance, I understand. And then following that, there will be a swimming with Santa at the Trail Aquatic Center. So come, inviting everyone to come downtown.
Great. Thank you, thanks for reporting, sorry that was short notice, I know. Councilor Cashel.
Nothing to report, Mary Jones.
Okay. Councilor Hanson.
Nothing to report.
Councilor Martin.
I'll start to break the chains. On behalf of council, I attended the following meetings. On November the 13th, I attended an RDKB utilities meeting in Grand Forks. Reviewed the 2025 work plans for the following services: Big White Street Lighting Service, Beaverdale Street Lighting Service, Beaver Valley Water Service, Christine Lake Water and Utility Service, Columbia Gardens Industrial Park Water Service, Rivervale Water and Street Lighting Service. See that plan? There's a bit of a theme here. And the East End Regional Sanitary Sewer Service and the Oasis and Rivervale Sewer Service. On the 13th, I also attended an RDKB board meeting in Grand Forks. Director appointments to various committees and the election of the chair and vice chair positions for the 2025 year were held. Director Morel is the chair, and I was fortunate enough to be elected as vice chair. And there was $50,000 allocated from reserve for the Grand Forks Rural Fire Service for the purchase of a new command vehicle. And various grant and aids at that meeting were also approved. On November the 15th, along with other members of council, attended the Métis flag raising ceremony in front of City Hall. This was a well-attended event this year by local residents and students from our local schools. On November the 18th, I attended a strategic planning session for the Trail Historical Society. The group met with Alan Shell from CBT, who facilitates these meetings for nonprofits. He gathered information from the group regarding priorities for the Historical Society. He then shares that information with local consultants who will in turn submit their proposals back to the society. The Columbia Basin Trust will pay for 8% of this project, and with the Historical Society being responsible for 20%. On November the 19th, I attended a RDKB East End Services meeting in Trail. Reviewed 2025 work plans for the following services: victim services, Cooney Boundary Regional Fire Rescue, Area B, Lower Columbia Old Glory. Also the Noxious Weed Control specified Area A, Columbia Gardens, and East End Transit Service. Today, we had a Community Safety Task Force meeting. Welcome the 3 new members to the committee: Roland Vogel, Joy McIntyre, and Mary Lynn Rackison. We had a quick report from Sergeant Wysenowicz because he'd been away, so this was his turn today. He didn't have much for us. We had a report from Mayor Jones regarding the progress on the emergency warming shelter. We also reminded the committee about the upcoming March Against Domestic Violence on December 5th at 5 p.m. Just some quick information. There's a bad batch of new drugs in this area right now. There's been 5 ODs since last Wednesday. Since the shelter opened on Riverside, there was a report there was only 2 from September the 11th till last Wednesday. So that's it from my report. Please contact me if you have any questions regarding any of these meetings.
Thank you, Councilor Martin. Okay, on to my report. I have, just a few things that I wanted to talk about tonight. First of all, thank you, for your report on the Louis Riel Day, the raising of the Métis flag. I always appreciate that event, and I was sorry that I had to miss it this year. And, yeah, I think that's important that we recognize, the work that Louis Riel did in bringing the issues of the Métis forward. November 21st is, I attended the Trail Health and Environment Program meeting. And it was a partners meeting, providing feedback and discussion on the upcoming meeting that will be happening next week. This week, actually today, I met with Maggie Mature from the Selkirk College, and we were unable to meet as planned at UBCM in September, so we are just following up on that right now. And we had a really good discussion about their strategic plan that they're working on. Actually, it will be completed this week, and she talked to me about the international students and how they're losing enrollment from them. The federal government has cut back on the ability for them to enroll in our schools in Canada. So we have dropped from about 700 students to 250 students. It's a great cut in our province, and it'll mean a big difference in our economic development and our, our service employment in our community, and we're gonna really see a hole in our communities. The other thing that is holding them back as well, international students, is the housing ability in our areas and our communities. So really good discussion, and I look forward to another follow-up with her in the near future. Today we had another great discussion on our strategic plan. I just wanted to thank staff for all the work that they're doing on the strategic plan, and also for council for being so involved and committed to setting our priorities for the next couple of years. I think it's really important for us to have those priorities out there for the community to see that the work that we've got planned for next year, and also that we're completing this year. So that should be out in December sometime, and the public will be able to have a read of it. Councillor Martin did mention the emergency weather response shelter that we're working on. I can tell you that the plans have been finalized. We're just waiting for the budget to get finalized through BC Housing. The shelter again will be the same as last year. It will have 20 cots. It will be an overnight shelter, so people can get in and out of the cold. The only thing that has really changed on the emergency weather response is the target temperature as to when we can open it. And this year it has been a legislated temperature of -10. So once the weather hits that number, we have the United Church ready to go with the volunteers. Everything's organized. We just, need that activation notice, and then we'll be ready to go. So that's finalized. That's been a lot of very time consuming and a lot of work, but glad to have that completed. I wanted to also talk about, sorry, just give me a second. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you. Sorry about that. Any questions or comments on that? No? Okay, thank you, Council. So item number 7 is the consent agenda. So 7.1 is the report on invoices paid for municipal services from October 1st to the 31st of 2024. And we have the 7.2, the neighborhood network presentation follow-up, and the Trail Ambassador Program update.
I'd like to pull the neighborhood network correspondence letter, please. And I'd like to make a motion that we request BC Housing follow up and have a meeting with the neighbors and the shelter to be able to report back to council as a transparent between three of them and us to know exactly where things are at as an update since opening.
Councilor Benson, the seconder, thank you. I just wanna make sure they got the motion before. Okay. So all those in favor of the recommendation or the motion by Councilor Hanson on following up with BC Housing to get some feedback on the questions, okay. All those in favor? Thank you, that was carried. Councilor Benson.
Can you please pull out the
The ambassador,
so the paid invoices report, please?
okay. Okay, go ahead.
I just have a question to Mr. McClure about the payment to BC Winter Games. Was that expected?
Yes.
Okay.
So council may or may not remember that until the society is formed, they
Yeah.
ask that the city hold the funds that they get a grant. And so they had gotten a grant. What they ask for is for the city to hold the funds and allow them to get the funds back with the interest earned. So we did that calculation, we provided the funds because they most recently got their society together and got their bank account to allow the transfer.
Councilor Cashwell.
Can I also speak to the letter from the Trail Neighborhood Network as well,
Sure.
please? I think there's two parts to this. One is it's being filed for consent, but my question would be, Mayor Jones, is there any action being taken on our part to address any of the 14 action items that they outlined in the report? Or does it just sit dormant in a consent agenda file?
Well, so I don't know if everybody has had the opportunity to see all these 14 items, but when you look at them, we would have to separate them out to BC Housing, to Minister of Health, Minister of Health, Mental Health and Addictions. So there's a lot of items on here that aren't the city's responsibility. So I would take a motion and send these questions out to each ministry, if that's what council wanted, to get feedback.
Yeah, I know it's a bit complicated because there are 14 here and they cover a wide range of authorities that of course don't always fall under municipal government. I would make a motion, and I don't know how this will land, is some of these do apply, I think, to city business, city municipal governance. There might be, several in here that might apply. And if I made a motion that we sent this letter, referred it to the Community Safety Task Force, maybe for their eyes on it, and they can give us a report back on which ones they think might be something that we can take action on. Some of them I'm confident we probably won't be able to, but I guess my concern is that, a fair bit of work and time and effort and energy went into preparing this report. It is a follow-up to a delegation of 2 individuals that came in and gave a very thoughtful, very relevant presentation to this council. And I think that we owe it to them that it just doesn't go into a consent agenda file and sit there collecting cobwebs. I'd like to see it kind of staying alive a bit and seeing what we can do to maybe, look at some of these points that they've raised. So my motion would be to have it referred to the Community Trail Task Force for follow-up that they deem appropriate and a report back to council on possible steps that we can take, and at least be in a position where we can make a reply back to this letter.
Okay, I am going to ask Ms. Butler for some advice on this, please.
That's fine. I mean,
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, thank you.
And just maybe some from Councillor Hanson's motion also. What I took from that was a lot of this would be in part of that conversation with Is that what your intent was?
Yes, that was the intent. I mean, I understand there are some points in here regarding surveillance. I mean, we are working with our CCTV right now from the Community Safety Task Force for additional installation of security cameras. So they're in the strengthening bylaw that was already referred to the Community Safety Task Force to come back to council after a few months. And so we're expecting something probably come the new year of where that recommendation would lay. But yes, I agree, in essence, it would be some of this data information and the things that the neighbors, specifically the neighbors surrounding the property are dealing with, and I think having a meeting with BC Housing, like they had a consultation process with those specific neighbors in the beginning, and having council there and fire chief and Sergeant Masanowicz, I think would be very thoughtful, so then there's clear communications between all parties of what people are seeing and hearing and what's happening.
And then based off that conversation, the safety task force will see what was
Yes.
left in terms of like what the municipalities.
Councillor Martin.
Just
Your hand
so
up.
Mayor, thank you, Mayor Jones, sorry. Mayor, council and staff and all folks in the audience, we won't be meeting until January 27th now. So it's not gonna be happening right away, just so you know, just for your information.
Thank you. Okay, so.
And hopefully the conversation with BC Housing happens, it gives ample time for, although it's holiday season, but you know, it gives a bit more time for that conversation to happen, so that we have a bit more area around our table too.
And you're right, I know that in Tanya's letter, she was very respectful in considering that there was an election and there was, new MLAs in place and was waiting until that was all settled. But I think that they just were sworn in last week, so it's pretty hard to reach out and get any information from them until, so it's probably a good idea to delay this a bit. Well, not delay it, but, wait till January. So we do have a motion. Councillor Cashall.
That the letter be referred to the Trail Community Task Force for appropriate follow-up and a report back to council.
And Councillor Benson seconded. So all those in favor? Okay, thank you. That was carried.
And your worship, if I may be indulged a bit further, on part 2 of the request is that they're asking for a letter of support being sent to Interior Health and BC Housing. I don't know if this ties in a little bit with what Councillor Hanson mentioned, but I have a position on this that I think I'd like to speak to, and maybe we can get this addressed as well, that request for the letter of support. My position, and I made this clear in arguments that I made back in, can't read my own writing again. Back in March of 11 and March 25th, I argued and put forward, I thought, a position on the importance of municipal governments, all governments being at arm's length from advocacy groups. And at that time, it was an application from the Trail Community Action Team, which is an advocacy group that's been recognized. And I also recognize Trail Neighborhood Network as an advocacy group as well. So my position hasn't changed. I realize you're not even asking for $14,000 like Trail Community Action Team did, but you're here asking for a letter of support. And I'm not comfortable doing that as a municipal councillor. And my motion will be, again, to support this whole idea that advocacy groups, they're important, they have their place, but I think that we should be at arm's length from advocacy groups. So my motion will be this, that we do not file a letter of support to Interior Health and BC Housing on behalf of the Trail Neighborhood Network. That is my motion. And I don't see a seconder. So does that mean that we want to file a letter?
We're all seconded for discussion.
And then again, I'm not trying to, this has got nothing to do with the letter that Councillor Hanson is putting forward. This is a letter that they're asking for specifically to go to Interior Health and BC Housing, supporting their letter of reference here. So my position is, I don't think we should do that, and thank you for that opportunity to speak to it.
Was there any other comments on that, Councillor Brown?
Just sort of like from the amendment that we wait until we hear back from the community.
Yes.
Task force.
Because the letter is going to the Community Safety Task Force, the whole letter. So I thought that we would wait till we heard back from them and their decision on it, as Councillor Butler was saying. Go ahead.
And at that point, Mayor Jones, we'll address the letter request of support at that time. Okay, that's fine. I can withdraw my motion then, if that's fair.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Councillor Cashel. Okay, is there anything else under the consent agenda tonight? No? Okay, thank you. Any new business tonight from council? Sorry? Oh, right. So I need a motion to receive the consent agenda for information. Thank you, Councillor Butler, Councillor Martin, all those in favor? That was carried, thank you. Okay, any new business tonight? Okay. So next item on the agenda is a motion to adjourn. Councillor Hanson and Councillor Benson. Thank you guys, that was a lot of good discussion tonight. Thank you all for coming tonight, really appreciate you being here.